I wanted to know, my buddy Bryan Eisenberg, who's a big deal, how many podcasts has he been on? He's been on a lot. Even I took this photo for him at Digimarca. Best-selling author, all that kind of stuff. And if we look him up, we'll see there's a ton. And I think we have 234 here, podcast episodes. And you can see I've talked to it, said go find out. And so it started to create a sheet. And it went to Podchaser. So you can see listen notes, all this. They have AI, paying money, right? And Podchaser has one too. And I have a lot of time inside Podchaser. You can see it's in 573 line. So I'm trying between Podchaser, Listen Notes, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, because there's no like one course. They all have a little mix of this and that, right? And they're not organized all the same way. Like is more around like a guest on who thing, because you get for host, editor. And then list notes is more just adding, just inventorying the podcasts are. So they're structured differently too. Not just they have some podcasts and they don't. And most people repurpose consistently across episodes, including us, like our marketing thing. There's things that aren't quite right there. But let me show you something. So with Brian's, I told Claude inventory, and I went through multiple iterations. Inventory everything you can find. Almost. And it's like, okay, but it doesn't really have information. I can't really, it doesn't have results. I can't really, I can't do analysis off this. You claim different structure and whatnot, and there's a maybe cat is around.
I got booted off again.
Yeah.
You're muted again, Dennis.
Just earn their name. All right. So podcast for his kid, be connected in baseball, all the top coaches, very well connected. Another one, Rice and Beans Millionaire, and all these ones. So initially Claude thought, well, no, that's the of them are and this other one's not actually Brian. I said, no, that actually is Brian. So grab everything. And now it's saying, well, to get the rest of it, you actually need a premium subscription or you got to use the API. That's weak. So, okay, maybe we'll pay for the API. Maybe not. I don't know. We're paying for so many services already. It's crazy. So then Perplexity was the first one to launch a browser agent. They launched Comet before ChatGPT had their Atlas. And what Perplexity has done is they also have a $200 all-you-can-eat plan, but their credit policy is a little bit different in the way you have usage and all that. So they give you 10,000 tokens. Let me show you. So they give you 10,000 tokens on their max plan, their biggest plan. And no one's really clear on exactly what credits. No one's really clear on what a credit is, but this is the way I think about it. A credit is basically like a penny. Okay. So when I asked it to research Bryan Eisenberg and inventory his podcasts, they charged me 2,000 credits. So if we say a credit's a penny, that was $21 to do this task. So in a minute, we can decide, do we think that's worth $21 what it did? And then I said, let's work on funeral home exit. And it charged me 1,100 credits. So I've used up, and then I was asking some questions about the billing and that kind of stuff. So I've burned basically 3,500 credits out of what I'm supposed to get is 10,000 a month, but they gave us all 20,000 bonus credits, which may or may not continue. They continued this the last few months, but who knows? I think this is like Uber launching where they just lose money intentionally to try to, because they have market share compared to these other guys. So if we look at it this way, let's just assume it's 30,000. Let's assume I'm actually going to get the 30,000 and this 20,000 continues. Well, for 30,000, if I've already burned 3,400, I've burned 10% of my monthly usage just in like 3 hours. It's crazy. So what's the cost of extra usage? Well, it's a penny per credit. So it goes in increments of auto refill, right? When they're below 500, you can have another 500 credits for $5. So it's a penny a credit. Okay, well, I'm going to quickly run out of my 30,000 the way and I'll show you why my token usage is so heavy and why Claude is actually to our advantage. If you use tokens the way I use tokens, we're just, it's like at the buffet, we're just eating the most expensive stuff and they're losing money on us, okay? But the is because VCs would way more than that, and our own team members would charge more than that. Plus, I mean, you still have to give the thing feedback, right? There's human or not, you have to tell, yeah, and you have to know how to do the thing. Otherwise, you can't give them feedback. Okay. So let's look at the stuff that it did for Bryan Eisenberg. So it did the inventory and it actually got pretty much all of them instead of getting stuck. It actually had more persistence, more completion power than Claude, which is impressive, but it also is expensive, right? It said, look, I not only created a spreadsheet, but I needed to have access to this thing. So now I created this, and now I did an API call, now I did this other stuff, and it put this whole spreadsheet together. You can see it's explained. Now it's using so Perplexity is a model of models. So it switches between Gemini and ChatGPT and Grok, and it'll tell you like when it prefers, like here it's using Claude, right? And this is its own license. So we're not having to pay extra for this usage. That's why there's a credit thing, right? Because it gets like a bulk price. And it does this. So it created this database and it gave us analysis. And I said, what was the overlap between them? And what does this all mean? And grade it by authority and all this, right? And it does all this. And let's look at the output. Look at this. Now compare with what we can compare with what OpenAI does, which was crap. And Claude did a pretty good job. So this one here, it actually grabbed 197. Look at this. Um, it grabbed, it's pretty good. And it organized the columns, right? Okay. And it graded by authority. It broke it out by what podcast it was. And then here's the part that I like. I said, how do we optimize here? What is Bryan known for? What can we do? What is his lighthouse? Where are his best connections? And that's what it said here. And then it did a SWOT analysis. Here's the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. This is right on. This is what we need to do. This is where we're losing ground, right? This is something you learn in MBA school, SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. This is right on. And then it even broke it out by where his podcasts were starting in 2006 up to today. And you could see that he did a lot of public speaking, as he'll admit, up until COVID. COVID hit, so he stopped publishing and speaking, and he started working on his kid. And you want to spend time with your kid, and that's where this whole podcast to, these baseball coaches and professional throwers and weight people and fitness people. And then just in the last year, he started this Austin Rock Solid podcast. So you can see the shift from here to here to here. And then the gap analysis shows like, well, this building connections in Austin for Rock Solid is great for Austin, but it doesn't extend nationally. It doesn't help him with the books. And his books are starting to get old because of all the AI stuff. And he's not done a lot of public speaking since then, but we can do a lot of repurposing. And we can do a lot of boosting, and we can also help his wife's business, Stacy. Stacy has the place at home, the mobile nurse thing, helping old people. And so it's, well, here's what we can do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, if I was a VA, I would just, I would have this thing kick off. And then when it came back with this, I would then say, okay, go do it. And then do the next thing. And then I'd say, okay, keep going. Mindlessly. I would just tell it to keep going. But if you're an A player, you can look at the feedback here and actually understand it and then say, well, yeah, you know what? I think we should convert our top episodes to articles and repurpose that. But I also think there's a problem with his book sites and the agency that he's done consulting under and his personal brand site. And we should focus on the site before we just randomly just start repurposing. Like it requires a manager who has critical thinking skills, is what I'm saying. And that's what we're testing. When people want to come join our program, we're looking for evidence of critical thinking skills. And that's why we don't expect perfection. We just want to see that we give them feedback. That's what the whole point of active listening is. If we give them feedback, do they understand that or do they just do robot mode, right? And so this all makes sense. So you can see, and then build the top, all these other things, which are part of our system that we teach. So this thing cost us 2,100 credits. You can see, so you here to, I'm in Claude, wait a minute, let me go to Perplexity. With Perplexity, these interfaces all look kind of the same. You come here, and it's just like with Claude, and you go to, is it account and then usage? Where is it? Sorry, usage and credits. Here it is. Okay. Yeah, so you can see I burned 2,100 credits. You think that was worth 21? Like, I want to know, what do you guys think? So you saw what Claude did, which is pretty good. I would say that was, they don't break out the cost by task. Perplexity does. But I would say that was maybe $2 is my guess for what Claude did. And Perplexity is charging us $20. What do you think Perplexity did a much better job? Was it worth $20? This.
Oh, Dennis, I thought you said that a credit was worth a cent.
Yeah, it is.
So wouldn't it be $2 for Perplexity as well?
2,100 credits is $21. Well, yeah, $21. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Not 200 credits. That'd be $2.
oh yeah, you're
2,100.
right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I think it's actually more like 15 times more expensive.
Got it.
Yeah. So what do you think? What's, we have to use one main model. What do we think? And you can see the funeral home content plan. So this cost us $11, let's just say, and you can see what it did. It was great. To take all this stuff into articles, if you made it, if you read this is excellent, right? It basically built the website, but it did go ahead and implement the dang thing, just drove me nuts. Okay, great. That's great. You wrote all these articles, go put it on the website now. Oh no, I don't have access. I can't. Yes, you can. I'm logged in right now. Go do it. Right? Oh no, I can't do it. You can do it yourself. Go do it. But here it did a good job. It grabbed transcripts. It then started to turn it into other content. And I mean, it did a good job on all these things. And that was $10.
Then this
Yeah,
was
I mean,
And then
used.
I would say,